Good day, listeners. We present to you our podcast, Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches. We discuss a variety of topics that are important to the church. Examples include sexual abuse, all types of addictions, religious abuse, and recovery. This platform provides counseling sessions, meaningful question and answer, and a counseling continuum. Our co-hosts include, this is Tennille, our technical director. We have an impressive array of program contributors. And I'm your host. My name is Prince, founder of Antioch Youth Center, 501(c) program, licensed counselor, now retired. So join in this exciting podcast, Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches, and be a part of the healing process. So again, you're here tonight. Glad to see you, but special guest tonight, friends. Really, I do mean that. His name is Dr. Jamie Mitchell. He's a co-host, director of church culture and pastoral engagement at the American Pastors Network. Very important program here in the States. They work with Stand in the Gap Radio, Stand in the Gap television program. They're heard on 425 stations worldwide. They have 2 million listeners, and it's an exciting program that they have. Dr. Mitchell has a Bachelor of Science, a Master's in Ministry, a doctorate from Trinity Seminar. But the best news is his, I think, 4 grandchildren. That's the big news in his life. But I want to give him a hand, and I'm so glad he's here tonight to share with us these very important things we need to know about that. All right. Dr. I got an email from you about 3 weeks ago. And it was very riveting, and it was very to the point, humbling, and your honesty was just fantastic. Here's what you wrote. You wrote, failure, desire to be restored. My church attempted to destroy me and my wife. God had the last word. God had the last word. Wow. Tell us about that, if you would, please, Doctor.
Well, Prince, thank you so much. What a joy to have a part in this, especially what you're attempting to do, and that's to help bring healing. You know, we're all broken people. Almost every morning, I pray a prayer that Dr. Paul Tripp wrote. He said, I am a man, God, I am a man who is in need of Christ, a healing and work in my life every moment of my life. And we're broken people, all of us are. But my story goes pretty simple. I was a pastor for 34 years.
Wow.
Very successful, very fruitful, very diligent, faithful. But like any one, made some major mistakes, and approximately 8-9 years ago had a moral failure, and I got tripped up and I failed, and I confessed, and I confessed it all. My wife of 42 years, she graciously and supernaturally forgave me instantly. She's never back on her forgiving me.
Wow.
And but what ensued after that was probably the most devastating. I had founded my church 21 and a half years prior to that.
Wow.
And we had a fruitful ministry. We had 13 elders and pastors, and God was at work there. And over some odd years, I had helped many a man and woman in that church go through periods of times where sin had tripped them up, and we had restored them, and we followed through church discipline, but in a restorative way. Yet when it was my turn, when I had failed, when I was looking for restoration and I was looking for help, there was none to be found.
Wow.
And, what ensued, and I don't make light of my own sin, because here's the bottom line. I say this over and over again. I caused the problem. I pushed the first domino, Prince. But the problem was no one came along and stopped the dominoes from falling. Instead, a whole bunch of people started pushing the rest of the dominoes, and this tsunami of pain, brokenness, rejection, resentment, all of that, and to I'm still not restored to my church, and it has been a very painful experience.
Wow. It's a lot to digest there. Your wife is lovely. I mean, she's lovely. I can say that. She's
gold standard, baby. She's the gold standard.
Yeah. It's a blessing. Doctor, well, number one, I appreciate your honesty, because most people that are educated, the guys that I know, who I work with in my counseling background, they wouldn't do what you're doing. They would try to whitewash it or cover it up or blame someone. You're not doing that. You're coming out straight, and that's a blessing, going to help other people. My question to you, what are the early signs? Were there any early signs of failure that we should look for?
Well, I mean, when everything happened, Prince, almost everyone who knew me said the same thing. We never saw that coming. We would have never thought that you would have failed.
Okay.
That's probably problem number one.
Okay.
When in some respects I have said it, I've said it, I denied my own humanity. I never thought that I could be tripped up.
Okay.
But after that, and going through counseling and taking probably the next 13 months to just try to review what took place, I went back and I was sharing this today on a program with a fellow doing a paper on communication in the church and when communication goes bad. And my first 14 years of ministry were as an assistant pastor. Okay. And during that time, I had a number of experiences where there was tremendous injustice, a pastor treating me poorly, an elder board treating me wrongly, a church turning on me, a denomination not backing me up. And those things happen in ministry. Don't get me wrong, they happen.
They do.
But the problem was that those things would happen. I'd either leave the church, I get a new, I move on, and I would never solve that past hurt.
Okay.
And what began to happen is this bitterness and this resentment was building up inside of me. So much so that I could see somebody in church and I would watch their attitude and I would watch how they'd look at me and I would, that person's going to be a problem in the church. Well, the problem was that I got to a place when, after the last experience and going into a senior pastorate, I said these words: I'm never going to let that happen to me ever again. And the problem with that is once you say that, it changes your persona.
Sure.
Meaning, if anybody ever got out of line, I pulled the sword out quick and chopped their head off.
I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it permanently. Yeah.
So I became a benevolent dictator. And the problem that was, we had a very well-run church. Everything, and I wasn't nobody would have said I was a harsh or unkind person. I was a strong leader, and I was defined and definite on what we were going to do.
Sure.
But I had enough skills that I could move, the group with me. But the problem was this: when I did get tripped up by sin, go looking for help because I was scared to death. I said to myself, if I tell anybody I'm struggling, I know what they're going to do to me. And so I hid my sin instead of coming out right away with it. And so again, I'm the failure.
Sure.
I get that. But I know one thing, and it's interesting because Hebrews 12 tells us, don't root of bitterness to take hold of your life. Well, why is that? Well, because then you're going to, number one, miss out on the grace of God. Number two, you're going to fall prey to the sin of Esau. Well, what was the sin of Esau? Well, Esau gave up his blessing for a temporal relief.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I did. So what was the third sin? It says there, and then you'll fall into immorality.
And he did.
The root of bitterness takes away your grace. You start taking things in your hands, and then you will fall into some kind of immorality. My problem wasn't my immorality. It was the thing that basically undid me. But my problem was the bitterness that I hadn't resolved for those years. And God dealt with me, and I worked through that, and I realized, oh, I see the change that had taken place in my life for the last 15, 20 years.
Dr. Mitchell, hold on. I got it. My question program is just, you've changed it all around. So I got to start from the beginning. Tell me, before we go on a break, what is bitterness? How would you define bitterness? How do I know if I'm bitter? What is bitterness?
Bitterness is when a trial or difficulty comes in your life and you won't either forgive the person or see it with God's, see that God has brought this into your life for a purpose. And all of a sudden then you hold on to that hurt, and the hurt becomes resentment, the resentment becomes anger, and it just continues to burn a hole in your soul.
Wow.
When you're bitter, bitterness is drinking poison and thinking it's going to kill somebody else.
Wow. Tonight we're talking to Dr. Jamie Mitchell, co-host and director of church culture and pastoral engagement at the American Pastors Network. Dr. Mitchell, do you think that forgiveness and bitterness, or let me say unforgiveness and bitterness, are connecting together? If I don't forgive, is bitterness ushered in?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you're going to have to forgive, but I think forgiveness. There's a couple of things with forgiveness.
Okay.
First and foremost, forgiveness is an internal thing, meaning you have to come to the place where you accept what's happened, you see it with God's eyes, and you personally, without saying a thing, say, I forgive that person. I forgive them for hurting me. I see that God is in control. Though they took something from me, or they hurt me, or they wounded me, and maybe they're not even asking for forgiveness, I have the ability to forgive at that point. Secondly, is I think there needs to be, like when there is death, grief, there has to be mourning, there has to be an expression.
Okay.
And I think you need to be able to express your sorrow. When I went through my time, one of the very difficult things I really felt led to do was I made probably about 100 phone calls to all different people in my life, professors from college, fellow pastors, people who were supportive of me, family members, friends of mine. And I said to them, look, you probably have heard I've had a moral failure. I failed, but I just want to call you because I failed you as well. You've been my friend. You've been the supporter. You taught me in college. You taught me in seminary. And I need to express sorrow to you because your investment in me, I let you down. Please forgive me.
Wow.
As difficult as that was my sense of mourning my failure. Okay. But I think the third level come forgiveness, and that is where it is received or accepted or acknowledged by either the person that was hurt or the person who saw what happened. And see, this is what the problem is in churches today, Prince. I know this kind of comes around to that, is that churches are quick to just get rid of people who fail.
Just cut them off, get rid of them.
And those people, like myself, my wife and I, we've done wonderfully. We're doing wonderfully. We thank God for where He has taken us today. But I would be lying if I told you I don't have a piece of my heart that's still not repaired, because my church that I founded and served in for 21 years has never given me the opportunity to come back there, share sorrow, share my brokenness, tell them how sorry I am, and then allow them to respond back to me and let that restorative work take place. And that's the failure of churches today. We don't see responsibility in helping people experience that wholeness. And that's why we have a lot of Christians out there walking around with a limp today, because of the hurt that they've experienced and their church failing to build them up. Listen, God is the surgeon. God is the one who cuts the sin out of our lives. But the church has to be then the physical therapy unit that gets us walking again. The church is not the surgeon. The church has got to put down the scalpel and stop trying to things out of people's lives. That their job is that God does the cutting, we do the healing and get people back on their feet. And that is the failure of the church in the 21st century.
Why? Why don't we do that?
Pastors are not speaking on it. Prince,
Well,
I'm available to speak on this
devastating.
issue in churches, and pastors don't let me speak on this issue.
Well, that's pitiful. I mean, that's pitiful. It's just this. I would question whether or not they've been really sent. I would question that. I mean, if you're talking about restoration and forgiveness and healing and don't want to hear that, something is wrong. Something is wrong. What you're talking is reconciliation and healing. And I get what you said. The church should say, hey, Doc, come on back, let's talk. And that would accelerate healing, I would guess.
Well, listen, I've said this from day one. One of the great losses in our whole story is here you had my wife, who I disappointed, I failed, I hurt her, all of that. And God then infused her with the ability to forgive me. Now, you do counseling. I don't do counseling. I run from counseling. But the little bit of counseling I have done, one of the great things that women especially suffer with is the ability to forgive their spouse.
Okay, say that one more time, please. Say it one more time.
One of the great struggles women have in their lives is the ability to forgive spouse. When their husband fails, instead of learning how to forgive, they, no offense to Neil, but they nag, they keep bringing it up, they beat the guy down. And here was my wife, an example, a picture, a divine display of how to forgive a knucklehead. And she did it. And she has stayed steady for 9 years. Yet she has never been asked to speak on that issue.
Well, I'll be first. Tell her I want to talk. Out of
town. You can't have her right now.
She's ministering to her mom and dad. June 15, Thursday. I want to talk to her. Yeah. Doc, our time is gone, man, and I'm disappointed because I only got 2 questions in. So you got to come back next week, please. I want to hear more about the congregation, how they treated you. Did division play a part in the issues? Was the church misled, or was it a planned coup? A lot of questions we need. Doctor, if somebody wants to find out, Okay.
Sorry about that. I was on mute earlier. I didn't realize it. But Denise Roll has asked, you know God has forgiven you. Have you forgiven yourself?
Okay.
That's to you.
Well, I don't have to forgive myself, and I don't have the ability to forgive myself. The only thing I can do is I embrace and lean in, and as the Bible talks about, I reckon the forgiveness that has been given to me through Jesus Christ. And so I understand where the sister comes from when she's asking that, because that we use that phrase and we throw it around a lot. But we have to be very, very careful about that, because look, I'm a flawed person. There's plenty of reasons why I shouldn't forgive myself. But every day I get up and I say, oh, God, thank you again for the forgiveness that you have given me in Jesus Christ. How in the world you have done that, but I am so thankful for it.
Wow. My friend, thank you so much. Doctor, good to have you here, man. I thank you for our director, for those who listened in. So friends, the second side, you hear about this, is what he's doing now. You're not going to believe it. He had me on his podcast last month. 2 million listeners. They're heard in Serbia, they're heard in Greece, and on and on and on. So you want to hear what happened. The story is going to go on here on the blessing side. It's already been good, but hear what is happening in the past 9 years. So friends, again, thank you for Dr. being here, our director. May the Lord bless you. See you next week. Have a good night.